Expressions, the quintessential podcast from the New Indian Express Group. We are here to talk about all things life and lifestyle, and we will be touching upon topics like wellness, relationships, parenting, mental health, general health, and happiness. We hope to discover the extraordinary in the ordinary as our expert guests provide you with various insights and life hacks for successful, harmonious, and holistic living. Our conversations will help you choose wisely and will encourage you to set yourself up for success and provide you with positive and encouraging content for personal growth and development as we learn from the lives of others. Welcome to Expressions.
Hi, and welcome to Expressions. I'm your host Neha, and this week I'm joined by India's most sought-after interior designer, none other than Vinita Chaitanya. Hi Vinita, thank you for coming.
Hi Neha, nice to meet you actually.
Same here. Can you enlist three of history's most enduring and significant spaces in terms of architecture?
For me, and as I travel, I think museums for me are like the most stunning spaces. I cannot even envision how they were built and how they were conceived and how they were thought about. But so for me, yes, the most beautiful museums, and some in Paris, like a tiny museum called Guimet, which is an Asian arts museum, which is stunning. Of course, the Louvre. I mean, you can't talk about museums. And
without
then I love the V&A. I keep going back to it often. Yes, so for me, museums are absolutely imposing, and the grandeur and the magnificence takes my breath away every time I go.
Nice. So on the thought that you mentioned that I'm not an architect, so how different is interior design
than architecture? It's a lot. It's architecture. In fact, architects will insist that it's hugely different. They study for 5 years. That's a big difference. Whereas some of us study for 2 years and some of us more. It's a completely different discipline. The thought process is different. They absolutely conceive the space and visualize what the outside looks like, whereas we then take it to the interiors and then we visualize and we add the layers to. So they probably do the bones, and then we do the layering on top, including that little hair clip which you'd want to put. But that's the way it is. But architecture is a completely different discipline.
Yeah. But what's more important, or both are important? The architecture?
Obviously, both are important. And the architecture is, I think, very evolved discipline. It's been there over centuries. It's very deep thinking as well. Interior design obviously has to be more functional, aesthetic. We sometimes tend to camouflage little flaws with architecture in the inside. But I take my cue from the architect. So if the architect, for example, has built a beautiful contemporary space, which is obviously in conversation with the client, and then I come in, so obviously then I need to also take my cue from the contemporary language of the architect and then take it into the spaces. So that I can't suddenly then go mad and do something absolutely opposite to what he's done or she's done.
So architecture, like most industry, was male dominated. Now evenly split between the genders.
Yeah.
But how was it when you started off?
When I started off, it was extremely male dominated. I think women were just getting into the industry, but there are a few strong women who were already there and doing incredibly well. And over the years, I'm so excited to see the kind of women, getting into the field of architecture and then conservation and various aspects of architecture. And I think, like you said, there's a 50-50 split. And women, we think in a different way. Obviously, the work is kind of different. For me, I think we're more sensitive. Architects could be as sensitive to the environment, but we may be more sensitive. Like, for example, we've seen lately some beautiful architecture in India where they've done amazing schools in Rajasthan, and you know, it's so sensitive to what the child needs, to the climate, to what the community needs. So I think that's a different way of thinking, and for me that is amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah. So is it easy or difficult to work with the old architectural structures? Because they have all these water pipe issues and
I don't do too much of conservation architecture.
Okay.
So most of my homes, I mean interiors, most of the homes I do are built recently. I possibly would have restored one or two older homes.
Okay.
Obviously, it is difficult,
Yeah.
and you know, you need specialists in the field to come into that. But saying that, I do adore. I mean, I absolutely love colonial structures.
Yeah.
I was brought up in Bihar, in Munger, in one of the ITC, India Tobacco Company colonies, and we lived in a colonial building. And so for me, that's where I think my background is pretty much impacted from there.
Yeah. And you also have a beautiful home at Coorg, I was told.
Yeah, we purchased a space in Coorg about maybe 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then we built it.
Yeah.
It was just a piece of land on a dilapidated estate, and we built it from scratch, and we called it Slow Life.
Wow.
And it's a place we go to very often.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say after my daughter, it's a space which has changed me or impacted me the most.
Lovely. And when you talk about old styles, old architecture, you know, the most Kerala homes have these open spaces.
Yeah, the courtyards.
Yeah, courtyards. So do you like?
I absolutely am amazed with the kind of architecture we have in our smaller towns and B towns, as we call it.
Yeah.
And I love tradition, and I love heritage, and I love culture. And for me, seeing the way they live, I mean, everything has a meaning to it. You know, when you look at the courtyard, and then you look at the rooms around it, and then you see how everybody converges into the courtyard.
Yeah.
That meant that the family stays together.
Yeah.
You know, so all your activities are together, and I love that.
Yeah.
If you see the outside of the house, and even now as I go through to Coorg, I see these smaller villages, and you see these betucks outside the house, these little ledges outside the house, and you see that the neighbors meet each other.
Yeah.
And they chat, and that is actually a seat for you to chat. I mean, how many people think of that? But these were all thought about things, and this is the India which we've lost to a more modern India, where of course everything changes, and you're in a city and you don't have the luxury of that space. Or even if you do, you don't think about that. And then people want modern homes. And as we got westernized, everything changed, the kind of structures we wanted. So there are very few people, and for me, very evolved clients who actually want homes like that, and to incorporate these kind of things. It's a bit old world, and a lot of my younger clients will say, what the hell? Actually, no. Let me rephrase that. A lot of the younger clients are now going back to it.
Is it?
Yeah, I think midway somewhere we lost it, but a lot of them are going back to it, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love that.
Yeah.
At least people who I've been meeting enjoy a lot more of the culture and the heritage of India, and possibly because a lot of them have studied overseas and then just realized what the country has given them,
Yeah.
and what their I think their upbringing and a lot of
Core values.
nostalgia,
Yeah.
granny's house,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And I think that's great.
Yeah. So talking about family, did you have a lot of support from your parents and extended family when you were working?
So when I started out, actually we are a very small nuclear family,
Okay.
and when I started out, it was just my husband and myself. In fact, when I had Dia, who is my only daughter, there was nobody. For the first 2 years, I didn't even have a full-time, as they call them now, nanny
Nannies.
at home.
Yeah.
So I was doing everything, and I thought that was the way to do it. Who knew?
So how did you balance work and
I used to a lot of times carry her to my site and carry her to various sites. Yeah, I remember that little carry cot we had, and I would take her with me all the time, and it was fine till she started going for a few hours to a play school and then went on to school.
Yeah.
And as she went on to school, my working hours changed, and if I would drop her at 7:45 and pick her up at 3:45, those were my working hours,
Yeah.
9 to 3.
Yeah.
And as she grew older and as she moved out, the hours changed, and I started relaxing a bit and started at 10:15 and come back home at 6. So it's a part of it. It's a part of being a mom, and it's a part of balancing the house.
Yeah. So are the best spaces dictated by the people who inhabit them or the designers who create them?
That's an interesting question. I think the people who inhabit them lead to good design and to actually functional design. So the people who inhabit them, and for me, my clients need to give me a brief. All clients need to give you a brief and tell you what is their lifestyle, what are they expecting out of the house. How do they live? Do they even go to the kitchen or not? A lot of my clients say, "Oh, we don't go to the kitchen," which is fine, but there's a staff kitchen, and or a lot of clients love to cook. So we bring the kitchen into the main spaces. So it's like that. So unless I get a proper brief, we can't design. And if we design according to the brief, I think that's perfect. And for the client to walk into their space and say, "Oh my God, this is the home we always wished for." That's the ultimate, for me, high.
Good, right?
For me, it's a high. Yeah.
So what's more important, aesthetics or functionality?
No, it's a very big. Functionality is super important. And I'm a very practical interior designer. You won't believe it, but it's true. And I come across as possibly somebody who's more into luxury and aesthetic, but I'm super practical. And for me, everything matters. Is how you clean the house and who's going to maintain the house. And even if I layer it with 500 things, they should be easy to move around. And even if the bed is a particular size, you should be able to tuck in the bed sheets and the duvets, etc. So everything matters, and it's also because I like working with my hands. When I'm styling the spaces, I style it myself. So I do know that if there is a difficult spot in the house, how do you go behind and access that plug? It's very important. It's for me, it's super important. So I still have clients saying, "Vinita, you've added so much of jolly work. How are we going to clean it?" And I'm like, "Today you have a vacuum and you have 10,000 staff. You can still clean it. When you don't have it, then you tell me, how am I going to clean it?" But
so you provide them with solutions also.
Yeah, we have conversations all the time about solutions, and I mean, so what happens? Let me be honest with you. So when we are designing a home, and the client is moving from one space to another space, obviously they're evolving into a newer, better, sometimes bigger, mostly bigger space. And at that time, everything changes. Your lifestyle changes. The kind of people you need to upkeep the house it changes. So your staff requirement changes. Everything changes. Sometimes we need to guide the client into a new lifestyle. A lot of clients do not have gardens, from the first space to the second space.
Yeah.
And when you move from an apartment to a house, a bungalow, or a villa, and you have this huge garden you're going to look after, and then suddenly you have pets, and so on and so forth, it leads to a lot. So yes, then we gently guide them into the space, because it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
So functionality is super important, and if they call me, obviously aesthetics is important.
Yeah. No, but when you talk about pets, are there a lot of homes now that incorporate the pet and you design them also?
No, so a lot of my clients have pets.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a huge stress because then they'll ask for this couch because their dogs will be on the couch, and then 2 months later, Vinita, the dogs have got all the hairs on the couch, and how do I get it? So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. You either change the upholstery, because you can't put whatever you put, whether it's leather or leatherite or fabric or cotton or whatever, you still need to clean that couch. I have no solution for it. But
do you get to design the separate?
No, in the sense we do create spaces which are pet friendly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really can't do much. If you want your dog to sit on your lap or on your bed, that's fine. It's up to you.
A friend of mine was mentioning that these days you have these technology over light colored sofas where you just have to wipe them and the dirt goes away. So
no, there are a lot of sprays and fabric, sort of protectors and things like that, which have been in the industry for a long time.
Yeah.
Not just now.
Okay.
So yes, if you do have a pail or a pale fabric, or something which needs needs constant cleaning, you do have a lot of fabric protectors which you can always ask the upholsterer to do it for you when you're doing the upholstery of the piece.
So how do you define a room?
How do I define a room? First is the function. What is a room going to be used for? And then is the kind of space I can. So if I'm going to draw out a room, again it would depend. If it's just a bedroom, let's say, then I need just that much of space. I need space for my bed. I need space to walk around. I need the bedside tables. If I need a study table, I would love windows. So then you create the space accordingly.
Yeah.
Or if it's a living room and you want a space where you can watch television and you can entertain, so then I need two spaces. So I think rooms are sort of, it's an environment created to be functional. To be functional to the kind of lifestyle you want in that space.
Yeah.
So that for me is what it is about. And then beyond that, in terms of interior designers, how do I layer a room? And that's a $1 million question, because right now I can layer it to the ends of the earth. I mean, whatever you need.
What is the latest trend for a bedroom? Like, do clients ask you for a study table? What are the requirements? Like most cases, I would say.
Actually, after the pandemic, there has been a huge shift in what clients require, and everybody requires a private space. People prefer, like if you are a couple, everybody needs their space.
Yeah.
So one partner may want to work out of the room, but the other partner works at night and needs another space. So initially, while a study table was a part of a bedroom, it's not necessarily so. We try and give a study room separate, because there's a lot of work at home still, and people are preferring it that way. So in terms of a bedroom, the comfortable bed, headboards which are soft to feel, and which are not too fussy. Earlier you would have details like those carved headboards and things like that. Right now it's really a softer headboard which is more comfortable. I think comfort is the key. I personally like larger bedside tables so that you can put in all your clutter. Everybody has couple of gizmos where they want to charge on the, so that happens, and your water happens, and all your little whatever you have, your medicine or things like that. So I prefer a larger books, and I like a lot of functional light. So if one person is reading and the other person is not, and it depends on the habits.
Absolutely.
So we design the spaces for the people who are living in it.
Yeah.
And
so do couples these days ask for 2 toilets also? Because
very much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not now. It's been there for a long time, and I think now what's happened is even the younger couples, people who just get married, are asking for his and her toilet, or the partners want their own toilets. But and earlier, we would design a space for him and for her. But now they're asking, very clearly saying that they want their individual spaces. It's very, I think it's a thing. Sometimes you design with 2 individual beds because somebody snores and somebody doesn't, and so I want to sleep at night, or somebody's traveling really late and comes back and needs their bed and needs that comfort. Shifts are happening, so it's very practical. People are very honest about it. Earlier, what would happen was, okay, I have my room, give me a room adjoining that, and then they won't spell it out, but one person is sleeping there and one person is sleeping here. But today it's a very honest conversation. I need my space. Fine. You do you,
Royalty or contemporary, how different or similar are they?
If you're talking about contemporary versus maximalist, or are you talking about layers, or you're talking about, I don't understand.
So you have a lot of royal elements from
no, so you're talking about richer elements. So let's say if you're talking about it totally depends on what the feel of the rest of the home is. Personally, I mix elements. My work is very eclectic. I bring in a lot of traditional elements and a lot of heritage, along with very contemporary decor. So that's my style, and so for me it's not this or that. It's everything put together.
To give that timeless look, right?
I think it's timeless, and I also think that just keeping something super contemporary without any reflection to who you are and who you were, and who's your family and the rest of it, it doesn't have a meaning. It is not a home. I could probably design a hotel or a suite like that, but I don't think a home without this whole little layering and mixing says anything. It doesn't say it to me. So
when you finish a project, do you keep going back to your old spaces and seeing whether, do you like doing that?
A lot of times, and over the years, I've had to go back to spaces because one is either they want to refresh, or I'm doing their kids' homes up. And I've done 3 generations of homes sometimes. Right now, who's the grandfather, the father, and the child. I mean, it's incredible. I've had a fantastic span of, I think, since 1988 until now. So yes, I've done generations of homes, and a lot of times I have to go back. And I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing that the spaces still have meaning, and while they could have changed a lot of personal objects, it still speaks to me. Sometimes I don't like to go back because I think, oh gosh, I should have done better. But you evolve, things evolve.
So there's a huge difference between someone who has an eye for design and someone who's a certified interior designer with a formal training.
Yes.
But do you really need a degree to end up as a fashion or an interior designer?
So Neha, actually a lot of my friends they don't even have degrees, but they're doing amazingly well, and they are so talented. But if you want me to spell it out, and I think you need to study
Yeah.
more to get the basics in place, more to understand standards, more to understand heights, more to understand scale, how to draw, and so on. I think that kind of studying is very, very important. But unless you have the eye for it, you're not going to be able to evolve, or you're not going to be able to go to the next level.
That's true.
So while you have the eye for it and you could start, I met a whole bunch of people recently at some event I was at, and there was 3 or 4 of them who were moving from like banking jobs to interior design, and in their 40s. And they said, we feel we have a skill for it.
Okay.
We've done our homes, our neighbors want us to do their homes, and so they've started. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
So then you hire the right kind of help, and you move into the space. But personally, for me, I would prefer to study. Again, I'm old world, possibly. I would prefer to study and then move into it.
Yeah.
But yes, you need to have the eye for it,
Yeah.
or you develop the eye for it as you go on.
Yeah. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say seeing the world and my living room through a designer's eye?
The first thing that comes to my mind when you say seeing the world and my living room through a designer's eye is like, what would a designer come in and look at your space and say?
Yeah.
And I think if you ask me to come and look at your space from my viewpoint, I don't think I would say too much. I would actually let you be, unless you really want me to help you in any which way. I would not interfere in what you've done. I like unique spaces. I like spaces with a personality. I enjoy that you've done your space, and all you need to give me is a glass of red wine and I'm good.
What do you have to say to people with the attitude, I don't want a designer, I can do it on my own?
I think that's cool.
Really?
Sure, yeah, why not? Don't come to me if you can do it on your own, and obviously you won't. But if you feel you can do it on your own and you don't need a designer, that's very cool. You're very confident, and go for it. Absolutely. But what happens in the other sense is when they come to a designer and yet insist on doing it their own way, that is super
Stubborn.
irritating.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's like you're going to a doctor and saying, look, I know my own remedy. Why would you go to the doctor? So that is a problem. But if you say that I don't need a designer and I can do it for myself, that's great. Go for it.
I personally think that unless you have an eye for design, that's not a great idea, because you'll end up messing the space, and someone with a professional background obviously helps you kind of clearly think through the space.
Yeah, but then you need to say, I want that I want a design.
Exactly.
I agree. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who try and do it themselves.
Yeah. And then
sometimes mess it up and then come to the designer. But I mean, that's the way things are actually.
So describe your personal workspace to us.
I think everybody's seen it on my social.
Yeah.
But
how would you describe it?
Actually, it started very, very simply. It just started with a nice room and enough light coming in. I have a corner space and a large desk because
you need space.
I need space to roll out stuff. I need space to study drawings. I need space for putting my mood boards together. So that large desk was. But then it slowly has become this space where I have my collectibles, things which I enjoy, things which I've picked up from all over the world, a lot of antiques, surprisingly so, a lot of religious antiques, which I have no idea how it's come there. But it's at one point I looked at my room and I'm like, oh my God, this resembles almost a temple. It should not be like that. But yes, it's there. I enjoy tanjores. I enjoy a lot of glass paintings, and a lot of South Indian traditional craft. And my room is full of things which don't make any sense. Lots of books, which I still enjoy. I used to have a library in my room at one point of time, and now I just said, okay, I really don't need it. Everything is on my iPad, so I've moved it to the studio. But a lot of I have a collection of paperweights from all over the world.
Nice.
And it's the stupidest thing to collect because
No,
it weighs a ton. Every time you're bringing it, like, what are you doing? Why have you got 3 kilos extra with that silly paperweight? But that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So it's very personal, and I have a whole series of botanicals which I love.
Yeah,
It's behind
I
my
read about
desk.
that. But is there any piece that holds sentimental values for you, and it's very close to you? Artwork.
Strangely, nothing holds sentimental value to me except my family. I could happily give away a lot of the stuff if somebody asked for it.
Wow. That's very evolved.
No, actually nothing. I've never felt like that. I've never felt like holding on to things. Also, I think because all the time I'm buying more things, I'm collecting more things rather than buying more things, and I enjoy collecting. And at some point I feel that unless I start moving things to another space or giving them away to somebody who loves them equally, I won't be able to collect anymore. So no, nothing really holds that much value to me. Really nothing.
You said you have a lot of religious pieces. So
Yes.
are you a religious person?
I believe in the divine.
Okay.
I don't go to temples necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't do many pujas. I do one puja every year, which is the Diwali puja, because that's the hymn my mother taught and my granny used to do, and so it's just transferred down, and I just thought something to hold on to for my daughter. And we do it in the office as well, but nothing else.
Do you meditate, listen to music when
I
you're
listen to
working?
music, not while working.
Okay.
I listen to music when I'm traveling. I enjoy music. I create my own playlists. I really enjoy music.
Lovely.
But I don't meditate as such. Friends of mine laugh because I recently said that when I sleep, I use the word I meditate for 15 seconds and then go into like a 20-minute power nap. That's when I'm exhausted, like literally exhausted. I can do that. And when I said the word meditate, everybody was like, oh my God, she said the word meditate. But it's got nothing to do with a mantra or anything. It's just blocking your mind off and just trying to get into that sleep mode. That's it.
So how much will it cost and how long will it take to complete a project with you?
So it depends. I can't even say that, Neha, because it depends on the kind of projects we're doing.
Let's say if you're doing a home.
No, but it's also what kind of home we're doing. Like a contemporary home may cost less. Because in a more classical home, or where we need to use a lot more marble, a lot more inlay work, and then we are working with different kind of craft, etc., it may cost a lot more. So I'm not able to answer that clearly.
Okay.
But if you're coming to Vinita Chaitanya, you don't really need to have a budget.
What should I bring with me when I come for the first consultation with you?
Bring your thoughts, bring your ideas, bring your architectural drawing. I'm happy to see even a Pinterest board, honestly, because I need to know who you are, where you come from, what's your dream home, and I'm very happy to listen. So the first time when you come to see me is I would listen, I would ask you relevant questions about your family, your lifestyle, and I would love for you to answer everything. I would also love to see what is your vision. So even if you put together 5 pictures, I'm actually glad to see it.
Yeah.
And then from there, I can then decide which direction you want to go and which direction I want to take you to. And also, while I'm seeing your home, I also need to see the surrounding areas around it, just to be able to capture the light and the rest of the nuances.
Yeah. Do you bring in a lot of light to these spaces that you work in?
So
with nature?
normally, yeah, I'd love to bring in as much nature and as much light as I can, but normally these spaces are dictated by the architect as well. But for me, when I do up a space as an interior designer, I'd like to stand in this space and notice what, what is the feeling, what is the vibe in that space. And light and windows and nature obviously is the biggest and the most important element besides the space itself.
Yeah. So how do I care for my furniture, rugs, sofas? How should I maintain them?
I'm not very sure that I can answer this, because as soon as I do this, I actually don't do things which are not practical. But
so if you have children in the house and you have a light colored, pale colored furniture, sofas, so
a lot of my clients like using loose covers.
Okay.
And I think that's a good thing. Mostly when they're traveling, they'd put on a nice cotton loose cover on their couches and come back. Outdoor furniture, now you can do waterproof covers as well. So a lot of my clients, and we do that for a lot of the clients who travel as well, so we create all these very simple, almost pillowcase like covers to cover their furniture. And I think that's one way to sort of take care of it. As far as the other maintenance little practical things are, nowadays there's tons available. That's like how you take a spot off your garment. It's a similar thing with couches and carpets. And also there are incredible services available. I think even with people like Urban Clap and things who come in and clean up.
Else you can think of?
I am not sure, but we use a lot of housekeeping services, and my clients have found, especially in a city, a lot of very, very well-trained housekeeping services. With the kind of homes coming around and the villas and the kind of, there's so much happening, there has to be a service.
But how often should we look after the rugs? Like, where could you send your rugs?
You can actually, you can send your rugs back to the place you've bought them, and if you haven't, then you can find places. There's a lot of even dry cleaning services who clean out your rugs for you. It's not an issue, and today everything is online. So you shouldn't have a problem.
And would you recommend having swimming pools in the house?
I personally have a pool. And unless you can maintain it, there's no point having a pool.
Are you able to?
I've managed to, yes, over the years. And I've managed to with very simple staff in Coorg, who we have got trained, who's managing it. It's a chore. And
because you don't want to keep it dirty, right? It looks
no, you cannot. What happens is the water needs to be constantly cleaned. It needs that amount of purification and so on and so forth. So a pool is a big venture you need to get into if you really want to. Clients who enjoy swimming, they insist on a pool, and I don't think anybody's had a problem to maintain it. But these are all different people with different tastes, and we cater to all sorts of people. I'm not a conservation architect. I do luxury homes, which is completely different. I don't ever call myself a conservation architect. I try and be as practical and personally respectful to everything around. But when we are in a service industry and we are working with clients from it's this huge wide range of clients we work with, When people want things, if I'm not in the space to give it to them, then I need to move away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very clear thing. This is what I do,
Mm-hmm.
and if I don't like doing it, I should just move away.
Yeah.
And I should say, look, this is not my ethos or not my philosophy.
Is it easy to say no?
Today it's easy to say no.
Okay.
I'm in a very privileged position, and I understand that. But when I was much younger, and I was kind of working my way through, I think I said yes to a lot of things which I should have said no to, in the sense of I did some ridiculous projects, and I would have been, I don't want to ever go back to them, but it's a fact. It's a fact.
Because the most difficult thing you can say nicely is a no, right? So
I'm not nice. I really am not. I am very honest, and I think that honesty has kept me where I am, and I will be pretty much like upfront and say stuff like, if I don't want to hurt you, I might say, look, I'm super busy,
yeah.
and I have commitments over the next 5 years, and nobody is going to wait for me for 5 years, which is great. But that's something. And then if I'm not interested, I'm really not interested. I don't want to take on something which doesn't excite me anymore.
Absolutely. And how are clients from the south different from the north?
There is a large cultural difference, and I think I've been asked this before, and I keep saying things like, I think the South Indian is a quieter, more gentle person than the North Indian, and I should never say that because I will get kicked for it. But I think we are. Even if my clients are billionaires in the South, they still don't. They don't want to be ostentatious, and they don't want to show it. And whereas I've seen, not personally, I've seen people up north, and none of them are my clients, thank God, who want to show it all. Like, if I have the money, and those people for me don't have the taste, everything has to have a logo or a brand sitting on it, and I'm going to die if I see that in any more homes. So there is I think there's a pretty big difference. But also, you've got to realize that if you're talking about the traditional South Indian, or we're talking about this big influx of people in the South, it's bound to all equalize at some point.
Yeah. Why would I paint my ceiling anything but white?
Oh, there's a lot of reasons for you to paint your ceiling anything but white. Sometimes you want the room to have a particular look of coziness, and sometimes I myself would like to wrap the room in a particular color, and the deeper colors can make the ambiance of a room completely different. Like
really?
I've seen, we've done it before, like a gorgeous terracotta, for example, as a room wrapped in a terracotta, depends on the ceiling heights. And you wrap the room, and then today we're embellishing ceilings as well.
Mm-hmm.
You embellish the ceiling, and you can actually take up the art. We're adding prints to ceilings, so forget about painting.
Wow.
Ceilings are the thing now.
Yeah.
It's this new canvas for us, where people don't mind spending. So you see the palaces, and earlier, and if you see the Rajasthani palaces, if there's mirror work on the walls, or the Gujarati palaces, it goes up to the ceiling as well, and why can't we do that? So I don't think there's a definition,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to paint your walls white and your ceiling white, that's fine, but I normally never, if I'm painting my walls a beige or a cream, I'm taking that up to the ceiling as well.
Okay.
I don't want that definite line which then gives me that
difference.
Yeah, that difference between the ceiling and the wall.
Yeah.
So I think that traditional thing of painting the ceiling white is no more happening.
And what are your preferences for flooring, artwork, lighting?
Again, it totally depends on the mood of the house, but we do a lot of stonework. Sometimes the clients prefer a shiny marble, or we kind of do a honed stone. Depends if the house is contemporary, classic, if we're doing inlays on it. A lot of my clients love wood, and wood, we prefer to take it in the bedrooms because then it's kind of warm when you keep your feet on the ground, and if you're walking bare feet. Again, walking bare feet, clients like stone floors or tile floors, because personally, when I walk into my own space and I take off my shoes and I'm walking bare feet on my stone floor, I know that it's dusty or not. So each one has their own thing. But I actually like stone floors where then I can throw in a nice rug and layer that up a little bit.
Okay. And how can you elevate a room? Like what elements can you add?
Oh, I can add a million elements to elevate a room, but
textures.
It's like I said, it depends from the floor, and I love area rugs. I don't like wall-to-wall carpeting. I think area rugs gives a beautiful definition to the space and a form. And then, of course, you layer your cushions, you layer throw, you layer your art. Add mirrors if you want to sort of bring in that much more light or reflections or glamour. Lamps, for me the lamps and the lighting is most important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so adding the lamps around the house, around the space, sometimes putting off all your other lights and just sitting with lamps. I personally don't even like overhead lights unless it's a functional space. So it's there, and then from there on moving to the art and the accessories and flowers and candles. How much more do you want to add? You let me know.
So when you talk about lights, you have all these modern technology where through the app on the phone.
Yeah.
So do you believe in that? I mean, do you?
No, we do that a lot.
Okay.
We do that.
Is it easy?
Yeah. It works very well.
Okay.
It works very well, and automation is the buzzword.
Yeah.
I think it happened also when you run out of, like, even again during the pandemic when there was no staff coming home. It was so much easier to work with automation, people coming back from office, but then put on the air conditioner or, get things moving while they were on the move. But otherwise also, I think automation helps in a lot of ways. A lot of our lights are connected to automation. You create moods with that. So you walk in and you want sort of a relaxed mood rather than a big functional lighting. So moods are created, music is played, and all on a touch of your phone button or on a keypad. It's literally like you're in a hotel. On your bedside, you have that keypad where it's so simple. Automation is, for me, 9 out of 10 homes prefer automation.
And it's
today.
easy to maintain.
Oh yeah, it's not a problem.
Okay.
Today the technology is beyond what we used to see earlier.
And what are the must-haves at the entrance of a home? Like, that's like a very special space, right?
So your foyer has to be the most impactful. And a lot of people ask for various things. A lot of people ask for a religious object. So whether it's your Ganesha or whatever god you believe in, a lot of people ask for it. So yes, so when you enter your home, and then there are a lot of people who are very vastu conscious and they want a mirror or not, and so on and so forth. So that becomes, how do we frame it? What's the element below it? Today, we still in India want to keep our shoes in a space before you enter the rest of the house. So how to creatively create that shoe chest or a shoe cabinet as a part of the entry foyer, or keep it outside. And then, of course, what's your floor, what's your wall, what's your ceiling, what kind of lighting you need. So for me, I feel that when I enter the home, obviously there needs to be a sense of serenity. So the lighting needs to be soft. but not dim.
Yeah.
And then you see, the first focal thing you see is whether it's the God you want to see or the mirror you want to see. And then, of course, you need freshness, so the flowers and the fragrance.
Yes.
So it's all your senses coming alive
Yeah.
when
as
you walk
enter.
into the home.
Lovely.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. What about kids-friendly fabrics? Is there any go-to place for them?
You know, like I say, all the fabrics now can be cared for. There are various sprays, etc., where, you know, you can just wipe off clean. So yes, you can easily get all that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Amazon is your go-to.
Yeah. And if you want to just design a wall with pictures and quotes for your children's room, maybe sports or
Yeah.
so, what would you feel? Where should one go?
Again, there's tons happening on the internet. I mean, if you want to pick up posters, memorabilia, little
Do you get
hats,
these artists
etc.
to?
Yeah, you can get artists. Today we still are in a reasonably, I think getting an artist to come and paint your walls is still not so expensive
Yeah.
in India. Whereas anywhere else, yes.
Yeah.
But here we still have so much talent and people who are happy to come forward.
Yeah.
They're obviously specialists who do kids murals and things like that. And I think all you need to do is browse.
So Vinita, any tips for styling your home for seasons like Diwali, home parties?
Actually, like you said, for seasons.
Yeah.
So personally, I enjoy seasons in terms of what's seasonal.
Yeah.
So, and today we're not just styling with flowers, we're
Yeah.
styling with fruit, we're styling with little objects. Like yesterday I was passing by and I saw this beautiful palm leaf being woven. It was literally being woven on the street side here somewhere just outside Bangalore. And I was thinking, how beautiful would a table cover be with that woven palm leaf, you know?
Wow,
And yeah, so it's what you see, how you use it, what's seasonal. Like for example, for my daughter's wedding, I did not ask for a single exotic flower. We had the wedding in Coorg, so everything was native. I made sure that the flowers came from Karnataka. What we could get from the estate, the coffee, in fact the branches, etc., were used as centerpieces.
Wow.
Yeah, the oranges. So when you style your own table, make
Yeah.
it unique,
Yeah.
not that Pinterest board hack which you use. Okay, if you're not creative enough to do your unique thing, use that Pinterest board, is fine. Do you. A lot of my friends have said, as soon as I've said that you should do what you like,
Yeah.
it's actually given them the freedom to do what they really like and enjoy.
Yeah.
I think if you have a beautiful tablecloth, or you don't have a tablecloth, use a plant and leaf. Use whatever you see in your garden, and you know, create the base with that, and then put in whatever else you need to. If it's diyas, I love traditional.
Yeah.
So if you say diyas, I want terracotta diyas. I'm not into that whole candle scene,
Yeah.
etc. I'll do candles on my everyday flower arrangements, etc. That's fine. But if you're doing seasonal, get into it. Get the flavor of it. You don't need to be super kitsch, but you can sort of just make it your own.
So when you spoke about this person you saw
Yeah.
weaving, how do you promote new crafts and, you know, upcoming designers? So,
I have a
Can you talk
whole
about-
bunch of super creative friends.
okay.
I mean, if you look at my page and you look at my work, I'm always talking about my super creative friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Ashish in Bombay who has an atelier who does some incredible lights and some incredible candles and incredible objects of art. I have Vikram, who's most often in my projects, and he does absolutely incredible, amazing repoussé brass work, and they work so much with craftspeople, and they have done like so much promotion with we've promoted them over the last 20 years, because I know Vikram over the last 20 years, and it started with smaller objects, etc., which we were using in our corporate projects. And then it's moved into this incredible, these panels which are crafted and created for a lot of my work. And then you have, the younger guys, you have Rushad, you have Ravi. I mean, I love to use their work.
How did you find them?
They're all accessible, and they're all available, and in our industry you kind of meet. There are lovely exhibitions. I mean, I think in September you have Architectural Digest, they have a show. You have ID, which has a show in collaboration with Decor. So you can visit all these design shows. Then there is something with decor happening in Hyderabad. So between, I think, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai has a lot of art happening with it. I'm not sure about Calcutta, I haven't been there, but there is so much happening with interior design, and if you really need to follow what's happening and where you need to go, I think definitely the ID show, which was normally in Delhi, and it happens around February. Now it's happening in Bombay, end of September, and the Architectural Digest Design Show, which is again happening in September.
So
it will keep you updated. Plus, I think if you follow anything with arts and crafts, you should be able to be updated.
Nice. So I want to talk about your Instagram pages. I think they're so different and doesn't speak about your work at all. So they're beautiful pictures of nature, photography. So can you talk to us about that?
So my profile says I'm an interior designer, a traveler, but as far as interior design works go, I show it very carefully. And I say carefully because a lot of my work I have to sign NDAs for. So I'm not even able to take photographs or publicize that. So there are a few works of mine which I can show, and I'm happy to share. But otherwise, I think my life is much bigger than just doing work.
Interior,
and I think what I do, and I love nature. My walks actually started, I never used to walk before. I started walking only during the pandemic, and I started cycling. And when I started cycling around Bangalore, I had great company with two of my neighbors. And I discovered so much more about the city, which I hadn't seen. And because we had the access to cycle into these smaller lanes and things like that, I started picking up on the older heritage buildings. And I love photography. I've always loved photography.
Did you learn it?
No, I haven't learned it, but I'm very interested in it. I always say it's something. It's my backup plan. But I enjoy nature photography. I enjoy architectural photography. I think I have the eye for interior photography as well. I'm able to style and visualize. It could be a backup plan. But once I started taking photographs, and I think my Instagram page comes very naturally to me. I never think ahead of what I'm going to promote or do or say. It comes very naturally. If I see something in the morning and I want to talk about it, I put it there. Yesterday when I was driving back from Coorg, I saw this state. I was with my mum, and we had just had a couple of stops for the loo, and I've just said, this is disgusting. You can't. There's no access for an elderly person. The loos are just not thought about. You have tons of new cafes. So I wrote about it. I know that my voice is being heard, and I think it's very important to responsibly post. And if I can make a difference, I will. So that's one thing which I'm pretty sure I can do with my page, and I like to do with my page. So whether it's promoting craft which I enjoy, or promoting heritage or culture, or promoting just the nature around me, not promoting, but enjoying and appreciating the smaller things around me, or making a point of issues which disturb me. I've done posts about aircrafts and travel and just airports, and I think anything which I'm familiar with and
you think it needs to be addressed, you bring it up.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what about your travels? Can you talk about it? What has inspired you, and which place would you keep going back?
My travels are actually, I think, one of my major sources of inspiration besides nature. I enjoy traveling because I think for me it's a larger space, right? It's a mind space. Your mind opens up, and I observe culture. So earlier, I remember when I used to travel, it was travel. Okay, reach a place, shop.
Now
do
you have
whatever.
everything online.
Yeah, not only that, I think I've sort of grown past it. And it's been really, I think it's actually wonderful that I've grown past it. So now when I'm planning to go to a place, I research. I put down a list of things which I'd like to do. I make necessary bookings if I have to. If I want to see a play, or I want to go to a particular show, or I want to go to a particular garden and I need all the entries, or a museum, I do all that up front. So my days are dedicated for that. And then in between, I'll browse. I love staying in different hotels. So if I go to a place where I've been many times, even in London, for example, I love staying in a different locality. So that I can, I can step out, I walk around, I discover, and sometimes that discovery leads to so much more. You meet new people, and it's great. So that's one thing I really love. I recently went to Barcelona after a very long time, and I went for a promotion, and I hardly stayed there. It was 3 days, but it was during a festival, and then you kind of learn so much more. And Gaudi's buildings were full of roses because the festival was about roses and books. It was amazing. So I think every time I travel, I bring back something more. My headspace gets filled up with something more, and I think it's evolution, right? It's a process of evolving.
So what's your favorite place?
What's my favorite place? It used to be Paris, maybe not anymore. But so even when I went to London this time, I hadn't explored the countryside. So this time when I was out, I was in Oxfordshire for a few days actually, and then I went to New Forest. I love doing that. I thought it was absolutely stunning. When I was in Italy, we went out and we were sort of going to another village, and we spent a day. Sorry, I need to get that name right, but I'll come back to it.
That's right.
But going out of the city and then discovering the countryside. And we spent a day at Parma, and I don't know why it's old age. But we spent a day at Parma and just discovering the little place outside, and then sort of we did an entire an evening. We cooked for ourselves, and we had a teacher, an Italian teacher, who taught us how to do pasta from scratch. It was wonderful.
Interesting,
wonderful. Just going and spending time a little outside the cities is gorgeous. I mean, Parma has, for example, the most beautiful antique map shop. I met a girl who had flown in from Dubai to complete one of her map collections and had come to Parma to pick up a map from there. So you kind of discover a whole bunch of things. I'd love to cycle around Italy, and I've been promised by one of my friends that she's taking me on a tour. It'll be fun.
Amsterdam is also good.
I haven't been. I haven't spent much time there, so I can't talk much about it. But we go to Italy a lot because we do Milan for design.
So what do you think of IKEA?
Actually, I love IKEA.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most. I think it's brilliant. They're brilliant. They're so creative. They're so functional.
And very economical.
And of course, price points are ridiculous. A lot of times we actually browse through just to add little layers into spaces we do. Sometimes I've spent a few days there actually because I needed to research. I was doing up apartments for young people who had a very, very tight budget.
Yeah.
Friends also, and I spent a lot of time in IKEA. I brought in such beautiful pieces of furniture and reupholstered them in my own way.
Wow.
So yeah, it could
Worked
be
well.
VC into IKEA at some point of time.
Your daughter, did you design her room?
Dia.
Yeah.
So she's had multiple rooms. She's had multiple spaces as she grew up, and so what happens is, I think, of course, when she was a child, we did beautiful. At that point, I think she wanted bunk beds, but because she has two cousins living here, so we did a triple bunk.
Okay.
And I wanted to do it differently, so I think I did it very traditionally with all the cornices and almost like a four-poster bed, but a triple bunk.
Okay.
And then as she grew older, of course, there was a more modern bed, then there was a four-poster bed. So I don't know how many changes she's had, but probably every time she goes somewhere and comes back, there'll be a change. That's my space to experiment.
Yeah. And where do you go for antiques and Tanjore paintings?
I was telling you, I have people who come to me now.
Yeah.
But there are some very, very knowledgeable spaces in Bangalore, and one of the guys I work with is Balaji, and he has a space in the city. And he's also got a page on Instagram. I think it's called Balaji Antique Arts. But so I've been working with people like him over the last 20 years. And what happens is, once you establish, you establish a relationship and a trust, then you know that you can count on them, not to, because there's a lot of forgery in the market.
Yes.
And it's very difficult for anybody to know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can be in the field for as many years, but sometimes you get duped. And I don't suggest that. So if you're buying something of a particular value, you need to get that authenticity checked.
Yeah.
And the best way to get it checked is by calling in an expert. And that's what I do with most of the stuff I buy.
Yeah.
But like I said, there are people who reach out now and they say, look, we have this and we have that. And then it comes to the office. I get it all checked out. If I really adore it, sometimes even if it's new, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just a craft.
So do you think certain public spaces like fine diners in metro cities, they've started to look very identical? What do you think? Why do you think that happens?
I think sometimes it depends on the client also. Sometimes clients tend to say, oh, we want that kind of space. If they do give the designer the freedom, and if the designer or the architect is creative enough, they always create unique spaces.
Yeah.
But sometimes what happens is you get kind of bogged down by what the client really wants.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not privileged enough to say no. So yeah, you tend to create repetitive spaces. That's actually something which it happens all over the world.
So we have some rapid fire questions for you.
Fun.
Feng Shui, Vastu, what do you think?
I don't believe it both personally, but I have to do it, and I do it very religiously for my clients.
Okay.
I think both have their meaning if followed properly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they make sense. Just personally, not for me.
Okay. What is one thing that people don't know about you?
That I can cook.
Really?
Yeah. I cook very well.
And what's your favorite?
Oh, I can cook everything. I can cook from a a mean chili chicken.
Wow.
Well, my daughter's favorite is a spaghetti bolognese, which I have my magic sauce added to, which is a lot of red wine, but I can cook.
For another time, we're going to share the recipe.
Yeah.
What's on your music playlist now?
Oh, I love my music. I listen to a whole bunch of Afrobeat sometimes. I listen to from Bocelli to Miley Cyrus to everything, to Sting. Yeah, I enjoy 80s music, but I also enjoy the current music. I love bossa nova. I create my own playlists. I'm not a great Swiftie fan. I shouldn't get killed for that, but I think
Is Dia is?
She should be. We haven't discussed Taylor Swift recently, but Dia also has eclectic taste in music.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where is your next travel destination?
Well, it's Bombay day after, but besides Bombay, I might have to go back to London. Honestly, it's work dictated right now. If it was pleasure, I would go back to Africa.
Really?
Many times, yes. We've had wonderful trips there. We were talking about doing Srinagar and Bhutan this year.
Okay.
I've done Srinagar before. I loved it. I really want to go back. And Bhutan, I've never been, so I want to go there. Next week, I'm going to Jaipur. Okay. So yeah, there's lots. Every week, there's something interesting.
And what is the one talent you wish you had?
Oh, I wish I could sing.
Really?
I try and sing. I chase people out of the room, but I wish I could sing.
What's one thing you had to learn the hard way?
Patience. I think with my job, it calls for a lot of patience. When you're younger, you don't really have much of it.
Yeah.
As you grow older, I discovered I had it, and I'm still here, so I've survived it.
And what's the one trend you would like to see disappear forever?
I think this just the Pinterest trend of just having that space copied from the picture. Oh my God, why?
Describe yourself in a hashtag.
I'd like to say storyteller. I'd like to say hashtag traveler, hashtag storyteller.
What would you like to be remembered for?
For being good? I just think, for being a good person. No other legacy. For me, karma is a big thing.
But even for your work,
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah, my work is there, but there's always somebody else the next day.
What would you choose? A forest retreat in Tokyo's backyard? In Ecuador, homes that are part of a mountain? A New York loft where art comes first? An Italian lakeside retreat? Or a wood-lined retreat in the heart of Paris?
Many interesting choices. Can I go everywhere? One day at a time. But
Top pick.
yep. I think Tokyo. I think also it's just the serenity, what I saw, just the discipline, the design aesthetic. I think that would be the top of my list. And then you said something about a jungle, you
Part
said
of the mountain.
Yeah, mountain, and then Italy. Actually, I enjoy them all. New York, staying in a loft as a part of art, where art comes first, would be exciting as well. I think these are things which I'd love to do, all of them.
You mentioned Africa too, so what is it that you like?
I loved Africa. I was just enthralled. I was just enthralled just being close to the animals.
Did you have breakfast with the giraffe?
Oh, we did all that. We did the balloons. I've been 4 times. So we did the balloons, the balloon safari. We've done breakfast with the giraffes. We've done everything. We've stayed in the most beautiful places, and some of them which was so tough to get into and to get out of, like you roll in and roll out of bed, like you don't know where you are. Suddenly you'll see leopard claws, footprints or claw prints. And it's crazy, but we had a beautiful, we've done Africa multiple times, and every time it's been even more amazing.
Nice. Thank you for joining us today. It was a really good, positive, and useful session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Neha, for having me. I'm happy to be here.